And welcome back to this exciting interview. I'm Jack. We're here with Kawadaishi and Mazer Ludd of Nebulous Fleet Command.
So, we've talked a bit about how you've made your drawings and sent it out to someone else and they made it pretty. But like, what's the creative process of actually designing and then like from start to finish designing a hull from the beginning, right? Where it's okay. Here's what I want. I want a Corvette to what we have now. What's the whole process there? Can you walk us through that? And how have you kind of come up with the different ideas for these ships?
That's a hard one. There's no real process that I have for how I actually come up with a ship concept. I'm a very visual thinker. So I kind of see in my mind what I roughly want something to look like. But mostly I have to figure out what the ship is going to do first. So, like, what's the role and the niche that it's supposed to fulfill? And then what aesthetics do I need that influence that? Because the thing with a game like this where the hulls are really involved is that small aesthetic changes actually affect the performance. It's not just like other strategy games where the units can look like whatever you want because they're just a bunch of numbers on a fake piece. The actual traversal arcs for the weapons matter. And why a lot of people ask me, well, why did you put like 33% of the heavy cruiser's firepower behind the conning tower? It can't shoot anything. Well, the answer is because it makes the game more interesting because the hull has what we call a birth defect, where it's got a limitation to it that makes the gameplay more interesting, and it's not a perfectly optimal design. But when it comes to actually figuring out what they're going to look like, the first thing I do is I do a silhouette. So I'll open up a new document, paint it all black, and then in white, I'll just scribble out a silhouette that I think is interesting, and I'll do a bunch of those, like 10 or so, and figure out, well, I like this one, and I like this one, and I like this thing on this one, and this one on this thing, and kind of mash it all together and find a shape that I like. Because to me, I think the thing that makes a ship interesting is its silhouette. And once you have a good silhouette, everything else is gravy. And so once I have a silhouette that I like, I'll start doing a really bad perspective drawing because I'm not a great artist. And then I'll do a rough 3D model because I've been modeling for a long time. And when I really put some time into it, I'm pretty decent, but StephMo's way better than me, and they're way better at texturing than me, and they have a way better workflow than I do. So either I'll throw the concept at StephMo or I'll throw the 3D model and the concept at StephMo, and they'll make it really nice and do all of their procedural texturing stuff. And then comes all the hard technical work of actually getting into the game because the hulls have a lot that make them tick. I think you guys have probably seen me streaming my editor where you can see all of the individual pieces of the ship and prefabs for the hulls and how they all fit together. There's a lot going on there. And so once a model is complete, it takes me like 2 days to actually implement it in the game.
Yeah, I think we saw that with the the old Corvette to the new Corvette design. Which if people don't know, I'm sure Jack here can do some video magic, and when I start talking about these ships, kind of pop them up on the screen. We had the old Corvette that oh look, it's right here. The old Corvette though was very boxy and kind of just looked like a squished kind of destroyer a little bit, like a little Halo frigate, just kind of scrunched up. And now you've got the new one that I actually really enjoy watching because it's got that kind of fat, like, blobfish look to it.
It looks like an A-Wing. I love it. It looks like it's fast.
New Corvette. I can't take credit for the new Corvette. So the original Corvette, I actually can't take credit for either of them. The original Corvette was actually contributed by Highscore, who's one of our moderators. He did a quick model long ago when he first joined the Discord, and I was trying to get some more ships in the game because we only had the frigate at the time. And he threw this one at me. He's like, here you go. I did this for fun. Have fun with it. But it was really small, way smaller than any kind of ship that has any kind of endurance should be. And it was kind of just a dedicated torpedo boat, which this new one has a lot more flexibility to it. But as I said, I can't take credit for this new one. I spent a while doing the workflow that I just described to you, where I was trying to come up with a silhouette that I like and do a drawing that I like. And I just didn't really have any success with it. And then I realized, wait, we have Demoria in this server, and he's a really great concept artist, and he did like work for Angels Fall First and some other things. And so I reached out to him like, hey, I'm in a bind right now. Can you do a concept for a Corvette for me? and he threw together a really awesome concept, and Stefmo took that and turned it into an incredible model.
Now we
And it's
have the
probably one of my
Caramel,
favorite ships now.
and now we've got the Caramel Dancing Corvette. It's great.
Yeah.
I do like it. Talking about the silhouettes, whenever it turns like to its broadside to actually fire all of its guns, that silhouette is actually smaller on the ECM like readings, right? Like it's actually smaller than it is if you're looking at it from the top or the bottom.
Yeah,
like
so
for detection.
the game actually simulates its radar cross-section calculations. It doesn't do it live. I pre-bake it into a basically a structure that's easy to navigate from different directions, so I can look up what the relative cross-section from any given direction is. But yeah, based on where the ship is pointed, its radar cross-section, its return size is smaller or larger.
Considering we're talking about like the chunks of ships now and like developing ships and whatnot, what do you foresee, or like what one mod in the Steam Workshop would you like to see done by the community that you kind of maybe looking forward to in the future?
I can't specifically say a topic that I'm looking forward to, but I really just want a faction, because we're going to be working on Faction 2 on our own, which is going to be the the Outlying Systems Protectorate, which is part of the lore. But I still really want to see what other people come up with for what their factions are going to be. I just want to see other people's ship designs in the game. So factions and hull sets are the thing I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, when I saw this game, it immediately like everything here is perfect for like an entire. I'm big into steampunk, so I'm like airships. This is like we got aerial torpedoes, we got flying ironclads. This is be a perfect like makeover for it, but there's a lot of work involved with that.
Yeah, so mod support will be in the game, or in the when can we expect mod support, or is it already in the early access build you got right now?
Mod support's already fully implemented.
It's groovy.
Awesome. Good to hear.
Actually, we've got one of our test modders, AGM, has just taken he's built a mod that is the station capture station model converted into a ship. And it's
how silly does that look?
It's horrifying, and the intro cinematic where it warps in or decelerates in from a distance, the way that all the ships arrive, looks ridiculous, but it's also hilarious.
Speaking of, I have to ask about that, and this is just oddball question, sorry, but who came up with that burn cinematic? Was that your idea, or was it just something that kind of showed up one day?
It came to me in a fever dream. I had originally planned for some kind of like distortion warping effect, but I was thinking about it and I was like, well, this game is so different from every other game, and every other game does a weird warp thing. I think this will be really cool, and it'll give me this opportunity to do this cool sweeping in camera and give that glamour shot of the nameplate. And I just kind of threw it together in a couple days, and I really liked it, and everyone else loved it. So when I posted it in my devlog and I was like, oh, I might change this in the future, this is what I've got for now, there were 20 comments that were like, no, please don't get rid of it, this is awesome. So now it has to stay.
It feels like I'm watching an episode of The Expanse and something's about to happen. Like, here we are, ships are out on the field, we've shown up.
It definitely feels like, I can only imagine, like, for people seeing their ship names, like, fly in, seeing that, like, HMS, Glory or whatever people are going to name their ships.
No, that is so personal.
It is. And also, I really like the nameplates, and we can upload, or we can put our own names in there, and we can put the, you can upload a picture and everything for your fleet emblem. How long did that take to like code that in, or was that actually pretty simple to do?
The nameplates were pretty easy. So the way they work, and they're going to become harder because I have to optimize it, because right now every single ship that's on the field has a 2048 by 2048 texture for each hull section that has a nameplate baked, and it starts to eat up video memory really fast. So I've got to optimize that. But actually doing it wasn't too hard. I just basically plopped the texture on a quad, put an orthographic camera there, put the names on where they're supposed to go, and bake it. It just takes a little bit, which is, as you've seen during the loading screens, the finishing nameplate stuff can take a little while. But the badges were a little harder because it's easy to sync text between clients. It's a little harder to sync images. So I had to figure out a system for that, but it wasn't too bad.
Oh,
is there any settings? Yeah, I mean, is there any settings for those players that, like, just don't have the best graphics card or anything to like turn off nameplates and turn off the symbols, or not really right now? Or is that
Not
something
currently, no.
not currently? Is that something possibly in the roadmap? Because I mean, I know there's a lot of people that don't have the best video cards that definitely want to play this game. Not to say you have to do something like that, but is there any options to like upscale or downscale the graphics coming in the future?
There's graphics settings already implemented, and so you can change resolution and aliasing and things like that, and quality settings. There's no option to turn off nameplates, although that's a good idea that I'll have to put on my list. It's as easy as just not baking them because there's the default textures that stay on the ship anyway. Although it really only becomes a problem in the really big games where you've got 4 versus 4 players and everyone has 10 ships. That's when it starts to really become a problem. But most of the time, it's not.
What kind of sort of like community events would you be like to see take place in the future outside of our current ones that we've got going on?
Well, Community Conquest is the big one that I had kind of dreamed for, and I'm really glad that they started doing that. In terms of other events, I actually don't really have many ideas. We've kind of thought of a couple gimmick things that we could do for Fight Night, like Fleet Shuffle, where everyone makes fleets and then everyone gets sent a random fleet, and you kind of have to fight with whatever people have given you.
Oh, that'll be
I'm for the
hilarious.
PD spam.
Which could be pretty funny, and also a lot of fun. But other things like that people have suggested. But in general, I don't really have any ideas for long-term community events, and I think it's probably better if people come up with them on their own rather than having me come up with it.
Would you be like against, or would you be for having kind of a league that tries to like make this more of a esports game coming in the near future?
I think I'd be ambivalent to it. I think that would kind of ruin the maybe not ruin. I think it would cut down on the thing that we've got going right now, where everyone kind of just has a fun game, and even the losers get back into the voice channel afterwards, and they're like, "Oh, that was awesome! I can't believe you did this thing. I thought I had you here." And I think that a professional league where there's actually like
Money
maybe
involved.
something on the line might be a little less fun.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be opposed to it.
As long as that it made sure that it would not destroy the current community in which has been developed by the with the game currently.
Yeah, because right now I think we have a pretty good attitude among our
Oh no, this is
players.
fun. Yeah.
It definitely. I've seen a lot of people come in and went like, "Man, that was doesn't matter like how badly they lost." I've only seen like one or two instances of rage, and I've sat through I think like 2 months of or a month of people playing almost every day. I'll pop in and listen to matches and watch games, and no one seems to be super upset about losing except for against railguns. Apparently, I don't get it.
Railguns
But
really aren't that hard to fight against.
oh,
Yeah, they're just
really? I
not
want to
set up
hear
to.
this. What's the grand strategy that Major brings to fight railguns?
Kill spotters. Railgun sniper fleets are entirely dependent on spotting corvettes and spotting frigates.
Pro tip:
That's
kill
why I
spotters.
always, in all of my fleets, I have a frigate that's designed for hunting spotter corvettes, and that's all it does.
Brutal.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Yeah. Pro tip: kill spotters. Give us a little sin counter up there. So you said that this is your first game you've developed then?
My first one that I've actually gotten completed. So I started doing game development, quote unquote game development as a hobby back in college, which was 13, 14 years ago, I think, because I was sitting in class one day and there was a guy sitting in front of me on his laptop doing some kind of coding. And I was like, I wonder what he's doing. He's probably just doing homework in class. That's weird. And then he ran it, and it was like a top down kind of Age of Empires strategy looking game. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. If that guy can do that, I bet I can do that. And so I started picking up some books on programming I was a computer science major, but I started picking up books on game programming specifically, started writing my own game engine, which was a terrible decision, but also a great decision because I learned a lot about how game engines work. And so now, even though I'm working with Unity, I understand a lot more about what's going on under the hood and how the decisions that I make are influenced by how the engine functions. But I never got a game out the door because I spent 8 years learning to develop a game engine rather than a game. um,
Ah.
and the game was meant to kind of be a space exploration game, but
Use like space.
I had like full scale solar systems and planets, which was pretty cool. but also there wasn't really a game to it. But as a tech demo, I guess it was impressive for a college student.
You just like space.
I do love space.
Oh man, space is great.
Let's fight over it.
Let's do that. February 11th, you're on. We got a question here. What inspired the game, and was it from your time in the service?
I would say a lot of the mechanics are inspired by that, but the actual inspiration from the game goes all the way back to Homeworld, when I was playing that and I was a poster on the Relic News forums, and people were suggesting a mod where you could name your capital ships. And they were like, oh, that'd be really cool because there's only a couple of them and you get to have names on them and personalize them, and it would make me a little more invested in it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really invested in any of my units in Homeworld, except maybe like the battle cruisers or the heavy cruisers, because there's so few of them. But what if there was a game where I was actually invested in all of my units and there were these really valuable things to me rather than just something I can crank out in these massive numbers and just throw them at the enemy? And that kind of sat in the back of my mind for a decade or two, and
here we are.
And now here we are. I think that a lot of the game mechanics are influenced by my time in the Navy, but I think that most of the actual inspiration from the game just comes from the fact that I love space and strategy games and the intersection of those two things.
Because you said your time in the Navy, when I saw you click, or when I saw like players click on one of their units, and all the buttons would pop up on which what you could do, it had a very legitimate feel to it. It didn't really feel like it was designed like by somebody who just like, I have to put, like, I played Homeworld. It didn't, like, Homeworld doesn't have that. It's always like a hotkey or something, but here is all these decisions up on the board you can like choose at, and it feels like I was looking at like a board that I would see in like an actual ship somewhere.
Yeah, the actual aesthetics of the UI, every professional game developer that I've showed it to, like I've talked to some other pros in another Discord that's dedicated to RTS developers. And I'm like, what do you guys think? Can you give me some tips? How can I get marketing help? Like, how can I get YouTubers to cover this? And they're like, well, your UI sucks. And I'm like, I know, but also I love it because the aesthetics are very heavily inspired by what the consoles look like on my ship. They don't have the same kind of colors, obviously, and they were built a long time ago, but just like
This ain't no
everything is a worded button.
It feels like Alien Isolation. It feels like an Alien, like 1970s, 1980s console.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I've been trying to explain this game to people. I look like it's like a 1970s, 80s like space combat game. They're like, so like Star Wars, like no, like they're shipped from like aliens, and like, but they don't have like, okay, here's this video from this guy I know called Jack. He's a good guy. Watch his video. It's like 5 minutes. Trust me, you'll love it. And so I've got a few people who are kind of like, yeah, this looks kind of interesting. I'm like, no, it's not kind of interesting. You want to play this with me? But I
buy it for them.
Yeah, I should, right? That's the thing. I just can't buy it yet.
Sorry, guys, you'll live.
I don't know. So actually, that's a question. So, do you like it realistically? How big do you want this game to get? I mean, let's be honest here. I think everyone wants their game to become like the next Total War or whatever. But like
Minecraft.
Do you want this to Minecraft or whatever? But like, what realistically, what do you expect come launch day? Like, how many units do you think you're gonna move?
I have no idea. I think that we're a really niche game. I think we've got a surprising amount of traction thanks to the Party Elite video. I'm really grateful for him covering the game. I think it gave us a lot of publicity that we really needed. But still, it's a really niche game. I don't anticipate that we're going to have too many players, but it seems like the players that we do get play a lot because it's the people who are into the game or the people who can't get this fix anywhere else. Yep. So as long as we get a small contingent of frequent players who are going to be active in the Discord and who can play with us, I'll be happy.
Awesome. So you just want to blow up people's ships. That you just want to come in and
he made a game, and now he needs targets.
Yeah,
he needs targets.
It's not like
he needs a target-rich environment.
I love it when my players challenge me.
Tell you what, February 11th.
You got it.
Okay.
Sure you don't want a day or two?
You know what? You know what? Give me till the 13th.
Speaking of which,
2 days.
I remember. Will there be any type of like default fleet in there, or is it just like straight up? I start from like 6,000 points and got to figure it out.
There's a default frigate fleet, which is okay, and there's a target other fleet that I use for testing, but we're going to have to get some default fleets in there that are actually good before we release the game. And I was actually going to ping our testers or our pre-alpha players pretty soon to try to collect those.
Okay.
Get a couple of like missile fleets. Here's a rail fleet. Here's a
because the issue with me just making all the fleets is that all the default fleets are going to focus on my play style, and I want to give the players who are seeing these for the first time and are having their opinions of how to play the game shaped by what they see, some diversity in the actual fleets they have.
Good to hear. That's actually a I would say a good thing that a developer will go, no, I don't know my game. Someone else can do it.
Oh yeah, my players beat me all the time. I'm really not that good.
So, how good do you think you are on a scale of 1 to 10, really, Major?
I'd say I'm like middle ground. I can beat most maybe like, I don't know, 60% of our players pretty regularly, but there's the 40% who just crush me.
Who's the most dangerous in the Discord right now?
I am not going to endorse.
No, don't. No.
Come on.
No, I can't inflate anyone's ego like that.
Well, tell you what. I guess we'll just have to have a tournament here or something at one point, huh?
Oh, maybe. Well, that is actually something we were talking about, was bringing up a little kind of a tournament that kind of brings more ideas to the ground on that. But outside of that, I think we've answered all of our questions. Is there anything else that you think we should have asked that we didn't, sir?
I can't really think of anything. I mean, Major, you got any sneak peeks you can show us before we go?
Only what you see in the streams. I don't really have anything else hiding under the table, except for the mechs.
Ooh,
what, the mechs?
The mechs.
Oh shit! Wait,
here
that's
we go.
Infinite Fleet. Sorry.
So I'm assuming we're probably gonna see that in the workshop, because I'm sitting here like, I'm pretty sure someone's going to try to make a Star Destroyer. I'm pretty sure people are going to try to do, Star Trek stuff, which would be weird and interesting.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how Star Trek ships would translate into this game. It's
Badly.
Probably not going to go well.
I think that's everything we have for you, Major. Thanks for sitting down with us for about an hour or so and just answering all of our questions. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for doing this, guys.
Thank you, sir, for making the game. Just doing our part.
So, yeah, Nebulous Fleet Command comes out February 11th at, what'd you say, 8 a.m.?
8 a.m. PST, yep.
So,
Sweet.
if you are, put that on your wish list here, get ready, and, if you guys aren't part of the Discord yet, I'm sure we'll have a little link to the doobly-doo down below, so...
Tell your friends!
Yeah, definitely tell your friends.
All right.
Well, thanks again, Major. Have a good night.
You too.
And if you missed the first half of this interview, please go check out Kawadaishi's website on YouTube. It'll be linked in the description below. Peace.